You're right, guys. Welcome to Football and Fitness United. My name's James, and yeah, as you can see, it's Derby Day and Manchester City 6, Manchester United 3. I've called it therapy session. I don't know if any of you guys are going to come in. I don't know if this is going to work, but either way, if it does, then yeah, we can chat about it. But what a day, hey? Where to start? Basically, there was a lot of optimism coming into this match, right? On social media, I saw a lot of people getting really gassed, being really positive, thinking, you know what, not even predicting a draw, predicting a win. And I think it just escaped people's mind, like where these two clubs are in terms of their processes. Like the word process gets bandied around a lot, we got to trust the process. We're in a rebuild, all these kind of terms. And yes, you can say it's been 9 years in this rebuild since Sir Alex Ferguson left, but realistically, this process under Erik ten Hag has only just started, right? So we're at the very beginning of our rebuild process at the moment. And we were facing a team away from home that are at the very end of their process. Not only, and this isn't a stream to just big up Manchester City, because trust me, I don't want to do that. But they are a fantastic football team from the ground up, basically. The way the club is ran, the way the transfers are handled, the way the academy is ran. Their under 10s play the same way that their under 18s play, and they play the same way that their first team plays. So, it's a natural progression throughout the whole team. And they are just, they're run so smoothly. They identify their targets way ahead of time. So, for example, they knew Fernandinho was coming to the end of his career. So what do? They go and identify Rodri as the person that they want to take his place. And they go and sign him about 2-3 years before Fernandinho is ready to hang up his boots. So that by the time he is ready to hang them up, they've got a ready-made replacement who's already settled into the Premier League. And it's just, it hurts, man, because when I was growing up, like, Man City weren't a thing, right? My dad was a City fan, but apart from that, I didn't really know many. They weren't really a thing. You didn't see many kids walking around in City tops in Manchester. And I tell you what, now you see almost more City tops than United tops. It's crazy. Since 2005, and I don't really want to go on about it a lot because I always go on about it, but the Glazers are a big problem at Manchester United. They're the biggest problem that the club has faced in a generation, and we need to get rid of them. But since 2005, when the Glazers took over, you've seen the direction of the club. It's plummeted. And people argue this with me all the time. They say, we've won multiple Premier Leagues since then. We've won a Champions League since then. We've won another European trophy, a couple of domestic cups and stuff. So you can't blame the Glazers for that. And I'm like, and I've used this analogy before, but just so bear with me on this. But say someone gets diagnosed with cancer in 2005 and they live a happy life until 2013, because of Sir Alex Ferguson. We'll use it in this metaphor. They live a happy life for 8 years. They have some success, but eventually the rot starts to happen. The cancer starts to take over. It starts to show negative signs. And eventually, come 2022, the club dies. Now, did that cancer become terminal in 2013 when they stopped living a successful, happy life? Or did that cancer become terminal in 2005 at the time of diagnosis? And that's what's happened here. Manchester United, or the death of Manchester United, or the demise of Manchester United, started way back in 2005 when a bunch of people who had no interest in the club, they saw it as a cash cow. They didn't even have the money to buy the club. They leveraged the money to buy the club on debt. When the Glazers purchased Manchester United, Manchester United's debt was zero. They'd moved into Carrington. They had a reasonably decent stadium, one of the best in the country. They were talking about expanding one of the stands. They'd had a new training facility. Their academy was flourishing. There was lots of positive things going around. Fast forward 17 years. Our stadium is in bits. It's falling apart. There's leaks in not only the roof, the toilets, the dressing room too. We've only just created a women's team 3 years ago, which, as one of the biggest football clubs in the world, frankly, is a joke. And the club across the road that, let's face it, when we were winning the treble, they were in League One, so Division 2. They are run impeccably. Like I said, their academy is superb. They're on the way to winning 3 Premier Leagues in a row. They could well win their first Champions League this season because they've signed what looks like the missing piece. And yeah, it's really tough. So we've seen our club fall off a cliff, and we've seen the neighbours, the noisy neighbours, as it was coined, over the road, like shoot up, right? And that's very, very difficult to take. So that was a bit of a long-winded way around, but that was just kind of an explanation as to where these two clubs are at going into this game. So when I saw all the optimism, I'm like, I kind of get it, because Man United have won the last 4 in the league. They're the best form in the league. No one else have won the last 4. But City were also in good form. I don't think they've lost all season, have they? They've had a couple of draws and won the rest of the games. So both teams in good form. City had home advantage. Our recent record at the Etihad is okay. It's pretty good. So you look at that and you think, yeah, there's reason to be optimistic. Rashford and Martial potentially back from injury. We've had a few good results. We've already beaten Liverpool and Arsenal this season. We've won a couple of tough away games. So yeah, it was an interesting one. Like I didn't get on board with all the hype, but I definitely understood people being a bit more positive. However, thinking we were going to go into their backyard and like run away with it, that was never going to happen. Ever going to happen. So yeah, that was before the game. So then we get to the game and we see the lineup exactly as I expected. It was De Gea, Delon, Malacia, Martinez, Varane, and then you had Eriksen, McTominay, Bruno, and you had Sancho, Antony, and Rashford. So Rashford was fit. I found that out earlier on in the week, and I knew he'd start. Although he didn't look his fittest, to be honest, but he was fit and able to start. So you think, right, that's the team we've got. As always, in a big 6 game away from home, you've got to keep it tight early on, right? You've got to make sure you stay in the game. So a couple of minutes in, De Gea makes a good save. I'm like, right, come on, that's a big moment, because if there's one team you don't want to go 1-0 down against, it's Manchester City at the Etihad, where their crowd, considering they actually had some people there today, they get up for it. And you then have to come out and chase the game, and they are lethal. They've got players that can hurt you all over the pitch. So then, 8 minutes in, ball comes in, Foden flashes it across near post, like great finish. And yeah, it's 1-0. And like I said, it's the one team you don't want to go 1-0 down to. It really is. And yeah, it was an uphill battle from there. It was a long day from there, to be honest. And yeah, it was really tough. And 1-0 became 2-0, which became 3-0, which became 4-0, which then became 4-1, which became 5-1, which became 6-1, which became 6-2, which became 6-3, right? So we were never really in the game. And we obviously got a goal back through Antony, which was an absolute rocket. And it kind of reminded me of the 6-1 at Old Trafford when we were 3-0 down, and then Darren Fletcher scored that goal from nowhere, like an absolute screamer in the top corner. Like, what a time to score, and then realise that, like, it means nothing. But it was an absolute screamer. On a slight positive, it was good to see Martial come on and grab a couple of goals. I think there's a number of people, me included, in the past that had kind of written him off in a Manchester United shirt. Not because we don't think he's quality, but because we don't think he can be consistent enough to be the number 9 at Manchester United for years to come, right? You've got to realise he's been here, 7 seasons now. He's probably had a good season and a half. And people look at reasons, and it could be, unhappy at losing his shirt number or them signing someone else or whatever. But at the end of the day, he's not performed at the level that he needs to be considered the starting number 9 for Manchester United. However, with the options at the moment and the manager we've got in charge, it's pretty vital we keep him fit this season, because he's already showed in pre-season and in a couple of games where he's had bit part roles to play, the damage that he can do. He holds the ball up very well. He's got pace. He's got good right foot, left foot. And yeah, he's a very intelligent footballer. So he's got a lot to offer this Manchester United team. So it's important that he can stay fit. And touching on another person we need to stay fit, unfortunately went off with an injury. I think he's having an ankle scan tomorrow. Let's fingers crossed for good news. But Raphael Varane, this is why I didn't understand seeing people celebrate when Maguire went off like injured, whether he was injured or not. But when he went off injured for England, whether you rate Harry Maguire or not, we've got rid of Eric Bailly. Phil Jones is God knows where. We got rid of Tuanzebe. So we basically have Varane, Martinez, Maguire, and Lindelof as our centre-back options. We know Varane's going to get injured. As much as we love him, like insanity is seeing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? We know that Varane is going to get injured every season for a certain period of time. That's why Real Madrid sold him, because every other area of his game he's excellent in. He brings a lot to the team. But unfortunately, his weakest attribute is his reliability in being up for selection. So if you're celebrating Maguire being out, then that leaves us with one cover for centre-back. So Lindelof's probably going to start the next game. What happens when he gets injured? Do we play Luke Shaw left back? Do we play Malacia like centre-back, sorry? We don't have many options there. So I think it's quite naive. Even though you might not like him as a player, we need him. It's a squad game. So we do need him. Just a note for anyone watching or whatever, there is a link to join the StreamYard. Basically, you can come in and chat if you want to do a bit of a reaction. Just copy and paste that link into your browser, and then you'll come on. I can invite you into the studio and we can chat. But basically, this is just my own therapy session because it's been a tough day. I've done a lot of recording. I obviously watched the game, and believe it or not, you might think it's the dream chatting about Man United on the internet for someone that's loved the club for as long as I have. But when they lose against a rival, it's pretty tough. And when all you want to do is go to sleep and all you have to do is go and speak about Manchester United, it's not the easiest thing in the world. So yeah, moving on. 2-0 second goal. Let's talk about him, man. Erling Haaland. Jeez. Can you believe there were people out there that thought that Man City were weaker with Erling Haaland in the team? Can you believe that? I said before, and I might be wrong on this, but I don't think I'm going to be. I think Erling Haaland has the potential, and not just the potential, I actually think it's going to happen. I think if he stays there at City, he will probably go down as the greatest ever striker to play in the Premier League. And that could be a ridiculous statement. You might come at me and say, oh, but Ruud van Nistelrooy, but Thierry Henry, but Wayne Rooney, but Harry Kane, but Alan Shearer, but Didier Drogba. You know, you've got numerous people, but Sergio Aguero. You can throw all these people at me. And I agree, all absolutely fantastic players that I have loved or hated for one reason or another. Erling Haaland is making a joke out of this Premier League, supposedly the most competitive league in the world. He's still young. He's by no means the finished article in terms of his own game. And yet he's almost unplayable. I used to think that about Didier Drogba on his day, right? I used to think pace, really good in the air, right foot, left foot. And he just had all the attributes. He's tough. He can battle it out. He can also finesse it. He's good defensively from corner. He just had absolutely everything. I used to be really jealous when I saw Drogba on the team sheet in a Chelsea shirt. And it's the same with Haaland, man. Boy, do I wish we got him. I wish we used that Ole connection to get him, because he's an absolute, well, like people have said, he's a cheat code, right? He really is. It's these kind of goals where you think other people won't score them. That goal where he slides in from that pass from De Bruyne today, where he bends it round with his right foot and Haaland slides in at the far post and puts it past De Gea. And it's like, most people aren't getting on the end of that. They're not. The goal in the Champions League, where Cancelo bends it with the outside of his right foot and Haaland leaps about three foot in the air, like 9 foot total, and like just volleys it in. Unstoppable. Martinez, Varane, De Gea, they want to stop that. That is absolutely unstoppable. He's the toughest player to play against in the league by far. Like, City were linked with Harry Kane, right? And if City would have signed Harry Kane, they'd have still won the league. Don't get that wrong. Like, they needed a number 9. With the way they play and the chances they create, Harry Kane would have done bits in a City team. He wouldn't be doing as well as Haaland, but he would score a lot of goals in that City team. Erling Haaland is probably going to break all kinds of records in the Premier League this season. All kinds of them. If he stays fit. And to be honest, it looks like he's going to stay fit. It looks like he's tough. Looks like he's robust. He's lethal. He scores all types of goals. I think his first 2 today were left foot and header, right? He scores all kinds of goals. He can drop deep. He played very much as a penalty box striker today. Almost all his touches were in the penalty box. So he plays that role. That's kind of the role I wish Ronaldo would adapt and play. Like, the thing is with Ronaldo at the moment, like, he wants to drop deep whenever we do play him, which isn't often. He wants to drop deep and get involved in the game because he probably doesn't trust the players around him to deliver the service into the box. Whereas if you're Erling Haaland and you've got Kevin De Bruyne, you've got Phil Foden, you've got João Cancelo, you've got all these players just putting the ball on a plate for you, you can stay there because you know you're getting it. You know you are getting that football if you wait around long enough. You know the quality's there. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne's a joke. I did a preview with Cam the other day and we were chatting. I was like, let's talk about 2 creative geniuses. Let's talk about Kevin De Bruyne and let's talk about Christian Eriksen. And I tried to get him to say that Eriksen was better than De Bruyne. Obviously, he's not. But there was a massive difference in class today. In every performance that we've had that's been good this season, Christian Eriksen has been pivotal, right? He's had a huge influence on the game. He wasn't able to get any control during that game today. He was completely outclassed. The whole team were outclassed. I'm not going to pick on one person. I'm not going to be this person that turns around and say, if we'd have started Casemiro, we'd have won the game. Or if we'd have started, well, God knows who, to be honest. If we'd have started Martial up front instead of Rashford, we'd have won the game. If we'd have started Ronaldo, we'd have won the game. No, don't buy any of that. Distinct gulf in class in the 2 teams, distinct gulf in mentality of the 2 teams and the application of the tactics and the plan. And that's why we lost the game. Yes, it was something to do with the 11 players on the pitch, but there isn't good enough players in our squad to go and win that game when we're playing like that, with that mentality. There's just not. So I don't buy into that at all. On the whole starting 11, I thought it was the right starting 11. I'll be honest. I thought it was the right selection. I thought there was no reason to change a winning team, really. People say Casemiro deserves to come in, and you can argue that in terms of he's probably one of the best 3 to 5 CDMs in the world. He came in for a 70 million euro price tag. We didn't sign him to sit on the bench, and we didn't. But at the same time, Scott's performed really well recently in the last 4 games. So forget the first 2 because we forget them for Varane and we forget them for Eriksen and we forget them for everyone else. So let's forget the first 2 games. McTominay has been really good for the 4 games after that until today. Like, if you remove the name from the back of his shirt, we'd be giving him 7, 8 out of 10 every week. But people have this problem with, they give a clean slate to everyone in a Manchester United shirt, but they wouldn't give one to Scott McTominay. And I don't know why. However, Scott wasn't good today. He definitely was not good. It was back to the McTominay of previous seasons where he just got lost. He tried, but nowhere near good enough from a quality point of view. So therefore, you kind of look at it and you're like, well, Ten Hag can't really defend him now. So when he gets asked that question about Casemiro, in the past, he's been like, well, Scott's playing really well. He deserves his place. And he does until now. And now is the chance he's got to embed Casemiro in that team, because we've got a really hefty run of fixtures coming up. I think we've got Everton away, then we've got Omonia, and we've got Chelsea and Spurs and Omonia again. We've got quite a few games coming up. So it's going to be tough. It really, really is. And we need players. And Casemiro has to start at least a few of them games. I wouldn't be surprised if Fred started a few as well, because we're going to need our squad. So yeah, that's an interesting one. But I was happy enough with the starting 11. I don't think that's the reason we lost the game. And you've got to look at the starting 11s of City as well, missing their 2 first-choice centre-backs, missing Rodri as well. Big misses. So I kind of do understand the confidence. I really do. But they are just such a good team. And I think somewhere along the way, we forgot that. We really did. But yeah, so Erling Haaland, obviously fantastic, right? Obviously, I've said that. And I could say it till the cows come home. I think he's a fantastic player. Phil Foden, another player that got a hat-trick today. Oh, just on Haaland, 3 goals, 2 assists. I mean, I don't play fantasy footy, but anyone that does, congratulations if you had him and captained him, because that, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? But I mean, he's just like, yeah, cheat code. Cheatcode.com. Phil Foden, right? So I'm a big Phil Foden fan. I think he's a fantastic footballer. One of the reasons I think he's a fantastic footballer is because I've got a pair of eyes and I watch football, but also because I know his coach since he was a kid. So I know the person that's coached him from the age of 11 up until youth development squad, right? And he's told me that he's the most technically gifted player that he's ever worked with. And he's worked with European Championship winners. He's worked with Premier League footballers, Premier League winners, etc. He said that at the age of 13 and 14, Phil Foden was breaking all kinds of records, all kinds of skills records, all kinds of technique records in the men's score when he was 14. He says he's absolutely phenomenal. And when he broke into the City team, I started to see stuff. And people are like, oh no, he's only good because he's in that City team. And a couple of weeks ago, I got some heat, right? Because this thing came on Twitter, and it was before an England game, and it was start one, bench one, sell one. And it was Saka, Foden, and Sancho. And I was like, surely there's only one answer for this, right? You start Foden, you bench Saka, and you sell Sancho. And I'm a United fan, so I'm like, I love Jadon Sancho. I think he has the potential and the ability to be very good. But I think he's third in that list of three. And people were like, that's ridiculous. They're like, Sancho, you either play or bench and you drop Foden. And I was like, whoa, where's this coming from? Like, Foden can't even get in the City team. He's only good because of the players around him. I'm like, what game are you watching? He was superb today. Absolutely superb. I'd love him in United's team. He gets in that team all day long. So I think, unfortunately, sometimes we live in this bubble of Manchester United, right? And we think, so like when Sancho and Rashford weren't called up to the England squad, we kind of think, oh, but they're playing amazing for United. Why are they not in the England squad? And it's like, yeah, they're playing amazing for a team that's fifth in the league. But Saka's playing good for a team that's first in the league, and Foden's playing good for a team that's second in the league and unbeaten. So that's the reason that those two players are in the England setup. It doesn't matter how well Sancho and Rashford are playing in a team that's fifth in the league. That team is fifth in the league. It's different when we were growing up, right? Because when we were growing up, or when I was growing up, Man United were winning everything, right? So if you were a starter for Manchester United, you were an international player. That was a no-brainer. Not only were you an international player, you were probably an international starter as well. Like, that's how big Manchester United were back then. That's not the case anymore. We're not blessed with talent across the whole pitch that is consistent and performs at a high level, because if we were, we'd be higher in the league table. That's simple. Like, yes, on paper, our starting 11 is better than Arsenal's, and yes, we might have beat them in a one-off game in the league, but what this season is showing is that they're further along in their process, and they're far more consistent than us. Far more consistent. So yeah, guys, if anyone wants to hop on, then as I said, the StreamYard link is there, so feel free to hop on. But it's just been a long day, so I'm only going to stay on for like 5 more minutes unless someone jumps on. But let's look forward, right? So first 2 games of the season, Brighton, Brentford. We obviously got hammered at Brentford. It was really tough. And Ten Hag had a really tough job to pick those players up because the atmosphere in the grounds, it was toxic. And we were outrun by 13 kilometers, right? So he basically made them run the difference and he joined in with them. And that seemed to give them a G up. And we then went on a run since then and we've looked like a completely different team. So we hit rock bottom and we bounced back. We've now hit rock bottom again today. So Ten Hag's got a hell of a job on his hands. And I want to know from you guys what he does to turn this round, because I'm not really sure. I don't know that running a bit of extra distance is going to help that. I don't know whether we just accept the fact that sometimes in these processes you come against better teams and you're going to take hidings like this. Is that acceptable? Do we have to accept mediocrity? Or should we be putting up a better fight than that? I mean, it's okay to accept that Manchester City are a better team further along in their process, but it's not okay to lie down, roll over and have your tummy tickle, basically, which is what we did. So that's not acceptable. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up, basically. I just wanted to test out this live feature. I think it's gone okay. I missed a bit at the start, but in general, it's been okay. So we will do a few more of these. I think I'll try whenever I'm not working. I'll try and get on post-match. We'll do a few phone-ins, reactions and stuff. But yeah, Manchester City 6, Manchester United 3. I'll say that again. Manchester City 6, Manchester United 3. As it says at the bottom, guys, if you can like the video, comment, share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff, it massively helps. From an algorithm point of view, it helps get the content out. And I appreciate, obviously, everyone that watches and everyone that shares and stuff. It all helps me and it all makes this decision to set all this up and do this. It all justifies it. So, yeah, big up, everyone. I hope you've had a better day than I have. I hope you managed to enjoy the game, or if not, at least enjoy some time with your families or whatever you were doing on a Sunday. Have a great week next week, and I'll probably see you again before the game against Omonia on Thursday. Thursday nights under the lights. Can't beat it, eh? I've been James. This has been Football and Fitness United. See you next time. Cheers.